Now, look, there's a lot to talk about, so let's get the intros out of the way. Spawning right here in the bottom left-hand corner, joined by the little polar bear on the main hatchery. We are looking inside of the main base of CLEM. His opponent in his best of 5 series, playing with the blue Terran SCVs. He goes by the name of Lambo. For some reason, and I really don't know why, these two decided to compete in this particular series, played at an offline tournament, playing the opponent's race. That alone already makes this a very interesting match to me. Now, this particular match was played at the FEL Krakow tournament, which took place the day after the StarCraft 2 Esports World Cup wrapped up. Now, both of these players were qualified for the EWC, and I guess after the final day, they hopped onto a plane straight to Poland, and then they decided to compete in this tournament right away the next. I mean, it seems like a... I guess we're gonna have a good look at what sleep-deprived pro gamers look like. Cause the flight, let me guess. The flight from, if they had a direct connection, it's probably like a 7-hour flight, but I'm assuming it will not be, maybe 6. 6 to 7 hours for like a direct connection, but they probably didn't. So it's safe to assume that these guys in the last 24 hours before this game was played probably did at least like 12 to 16 hours or so worth of traveling door to door. And obviously they already were in another country for a little while already. There is going to be a very significant IRL debuff that both of these players have. And apparently they decided to make it worse by then also playing the opponent's race. I'm guessing, therefore, that they're not really taking it all too serious, but this is a serious tournament with a pretty significant prize pool as well. And this particular series is the lower bracket finals. So one of the very last tournament series. And they decided to put it all on the line, playing their off races while probably being horribly sleep deprived. Now, as you may have already noticed in my voice, I am a little bit sick-ish myself as well. It's actually getting better again, but I also... obviously went to the EWC, and I think all the flying and a bunch of traveling wasn't ideal for me either, so I got a bit of a cold. Not really feeling too bad anymore, but the last couple days I felt a little Today, though, I'm feeling alright. It's just my voice is still sounding a little bit shaky. Nice little bit of micro here coming out of Lambo as he's trying to snipe CLEM'S Zerglings. Now, what's very odd about all of this, so this tournament took place in Krakow in Germany, in Poland. For an entirely different reason, I actually went to Krakow like 2 months ago for a wedding, for some reason. Very unrelated to this, but for some reason, I was in the exact same city that this tournament took place in. All right, well, for now, the strategies seem pretty normal. We've got ourselves a triple command center start right here for Lambo, following it up with a good old 1-1-1. Now, I think we all know that CLEM'S Terran is phenomenal. I would say that CLEM'S Terran is the very best in the world right now. I don't really think there's another Terran player that comes remotely close to him, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, there's a couple, I guess, that are, you know, up to his level. But in my mind, CLEM is, yeah, head and shoulders above the rest. You may disagree. And then obviously we also know that his Protoss is phenomenal. As a matter of fact, I think it was like 2 weeks or so ago, his Protoss MMR on the European server was higher than his Terran MMR. Which is a little silly. Now, Clem, in the Terran versus Terran matchup, when he does play Terran, he's been leaving a lot of games over the years. Mostly because he whenever he goes up against another Terran in a tournament right now, he prefers off-racing with Protoss instead. So he's been playing a lot of PvT whenever he would go up against a Terran. But I'm not entirely sure how good his Zerg is. But I think it's safe to assume it will also be very formidable. So far, I mean, lovely bit of control right there by Clem, building the Evolution Chamber to block the Hellions and that Reaper from dealing additional damage. All right, now it's going to be a 1-1-1, but Lambo is not going for the conventional Hellion Banshee. Instead, he's going Hellions into Stimpack and then a Liberator. So this will allow him a little bit of an earlier time, of course, on that Stimpack research. And it will be something that Clem may not have nearly as much experience playing against, because it does throw the timings out of the game a little bit, right? Now, obviously, these players have a lot of experience playing this particular matchup from the opponent's point of view, so they should have very good insights and reads into what the opponent could be doing. But obviously, you always have to be wondering, you know, are they doing it because maybe they're not so comfortable? Or are they doing it because they're trying to bait me, right? Like, how do you know the comfort levels of your opponent in an off match like this? For now, though, the Hellions, the Queens, the Zerglings, they've been dancing back and forth. For the time being, I mean, I have to say, even though CLEM'S Queens certainly were a little bit too far forward, he's managed to get a really nice trade, not really losing anything critical. I think with a touch of Terran micro there, the Terran that is, probably would have been able to kill at least a queen or two, but for the time being here, Clem is looking powerful. And this is obviously Clem that we know, right? So Clem is very good at just, well, holding on and really microing as best as he possibly can and get a lot of value out of his troops. These Zerglings, though, are not going to survive. Gonna have to make a new batch for it. Queen's actually out of position as well, so these Hellions could drive all the way into the natural. This is actually a wide open space here that Lambo does not quite catch. That could have been a game-ending moment. If those Hellions would have driven straight into the natural expansion, I think he would have been able to kill like half the mineral line. Those Queens were way out of position. Sadly right there for Lambo, but he assumed that the opponent, he was giving him the benefit of the doubt, I suppose. He assumed here that Clem was not going to be able to give him that level of advantage. All right, it's going to be Ling Hydra. I believe I saw, yeah, a Baneling nest as well. Baneling speed, however, okay, needs to be started, and Clem does so right now. I'm curious actually to see how Clem does play Zerg, because I mean, with Protoss and with Terran, he's very aggressive, right? Like, he's capable of playing the macro game and playing it a little bit at a slower speed, I suppose, with the macro, right? He really focuses on hyper-aggressive, well, micro on the other side of the map. But Zerg, I mean, you can do it with Ling run-bys like this, for example, but it's not as easily achieved. Usually, Zerg is focused on defending early on and then eventually overwhelming. 4 SCVs is not the end of the world. He actually... Clem, that is, did lose quite a few Zerglings as well. Siege tank over here in a very annoying position, but it's only one. I feel like we're supposed to have another siege tank already. Liberator, by the way, ended up going down too. The 1-1 upgrades here for Clem are about to finish. And it's going to make any sort of defense much easier. Now, I'm saying that at the exact same point, Terran, Lambo here, is also finishing off his own 1-1. So the upgrades are gonna cancel each other out for the most part, although technically the siege tanks are gonna be a little bit weaker. Queens have a lot of transfusion energy available, but Baneling speed at this point is finished, and that is going to make life easier, but still, a difficult position to break. Do you jump this here as the Zerg and actually line up your attacks with that, well, siege tank, or do you let your hatchery sort of get chipped away at? Oh, okay, one Baneling does get a decent connection. New siege tank has also arrived. Looks like Clem has decided to go and rely on mostly Hydras and Banelings right now for defense and some reinforcing units. Sending in a group of Zerglings here for a counterattack and morphs in a bunch of Banelings to potentially roll into the mineral line. Nice Sim City here though by Lambo. He's very well set up. 4th Command Center, Barracks 6, 7, and 8 right now coming up. Looks like the Banelings may have rolled into another group of Marines there, as some of them are running dangerously low, and it looks like Lambo is indeed gonna let go of the aggression. What about this, though? That little Baneling roll by, killing 9 SCVs. Good bit of value, but not the end of the game here for Lambo. I think this is very recoverable. And so far, I think it's very clear that both of these guys are capable of playing their off races very well. Yeah. This may come as a surprise to some of you, but it turns out professional gamers are good at games. Yeah. It's a crazy thought. Now, this is good, though, for Clem, if he can actually get the cancel. Getting the kill would have been even better. Not quite going to be the case. But he is going to try and see if he can layer up the aggression. Base over here in the bottom, by the way, as well, was made mostly as a replacement if this one ended up going down. Now Clem ends up getting, yeah, a little bit of value out of it. 82 workers should be good. Hive is a little bit later than you ideally want it to be, but he was very focused on trying to stop that attack from Lambo. It's always difficult to know. Oof. Looks like we had another big Baneling detonation here, and that is my main criticism of Lambo, but I think he was a little bit concerned, Clem that is, that this could be an 8 Rex all-in. So he decided to delay the Hive in favor of additional units. If I have to be critical though, so far, I'm a little bit concerned of some of the Marine micro. I know it's a difficult thing to do and to reliably pull off, but the Marine micro really needs to be a little bit sharper if you want to face off against the Zerg, especially on creep. So far, Lambo has been taking a few too many of those Banes to the Marines' face. Now, the Marines are quite replaceable, so it's not the end of the world. But soon, Zerg will be able to double down the multitasking, because we are now going into a Hive. We are going to go into a Lurker Den. Overseers are coming up. I'm assuming we'll probably see a Nidus network as well in a moment. So that's going to be the moment when Clem can really use that APM to his advantage. Well, even though we all know that Clem is a very fast Terran player, that doesn't necessarily mean that Lambo is, particularly slow. Still at 440 APM as well with his off race. And you know what? We are actually settling in for a really nice macro game here between these two. I wasn't sure what to expect going into the series, but it looks to me like the both of them are happy to just play a macro. All right, Clem going for the Nidus networks, building multiples of them all at the same time. Baneling Morphins are still happening too. Probably need to get rid of some of his supply here as well, just to be able to actually make the Lurkers. Oh, Terran army a little bit, caught off guard with the siege tanks unsieged, and this will be the trade that Clem is looking for. I don't think he's going to replace this. Oh my god, that's expensive. No, those Banelings are not worthwhile at all. Banelings in the meantime over here get a slight bit more value, but I think Clem is going to now use this opened up supply to morph in a whole load of Lurkers. He's got, well, enough gas to make like 9 of them, and that is going to make life quite a bit better here for the French Zerg. In the meantime, though, Lambo is starting to build up the Iron Bank. He's already got a lot of command centers on the production tab. +3/+3 has started up as well. He is going to be able to transition into a really nice late game. And very soon, he's going to need to start making either Liberators or preferably Ghosts. You kind of already want them at this point in time. I don't think we have any of them. No, it's just Marines. It's actually a little bit too Marine heavy. First Nidus network does go up inside of the main base. 2 of them, actually. It's important to shut these down because he doesn't have a reliable answer to Lurkers just yet. He does have 8 Rex, though, so he can easily make them. I love the Sim City here, although you probably should have lifted up the supply depots. Still, the SCVs, they slither away. There is now, okay, a small group of Lurkers burrowed underground, but, yep, Marines and Marauders are going to be able to take care of that pretty quickly. And because of the mass command center, Lambo can actually quite easily also scan everywhere that he needs to. So he's already sitting at 4 orbitals. We'll probably see a couple more in a moment. Once you get up to like 8, it kind of feels like you could scan forever. Still though, how do you deal with this without Ghosts? Well, I guess you can kind of just YOLO in the Marines and the Marauders. Still though, there's a Zergling run by over here as well on the left. We have the Nidus networks right now going in the natural expansion too. Looks like the scan ran out over at the 4th. Zergling run by together with Hydras and Banelings over in the 3rd. We suddenly have Clem flipping the script upside down, right? He flipped the switch and decided to go for multi-pronged aggression all over the map. And this is exactly what Clem is known for. Oh, this could be super painful. It was just one Baneling. It's not enough to one-shot, but these Zerglings are fully upgraded now. At least as far as the adrenal glands go. They don't quite have the +3/+3, but I mean, look at that. Just a handful of Zerglings destroying the leftovers in that mineral line. And suddenly, this game is looking quite rough right here for Lambo. He's not done yet, though. It's not going to be Lurkers now, but he should have Burrow available. And Burrow is good for a couple things. Not only can you obviously, well, unburrow them again and then continue the aggression with the Zerglings, but you can also use them as vision to pop down more Nidus worms. Because you obviously do need vision in order to actually pop down another one of those worms. And for the time being, this is looking really good here for Clem. However, Lambo is still maxed out. He's got all the command centers up and running. Sure, he may have taken, well, maybe 24 or so SCV losses over the last couple minutes. None of that, though, is really the end of the world. I'm mostly concerned for the ways in which he plans on dealing with the Lurkers. It seems like he's decided to just make a few Liberators and call it a day, but not so easily achieved. This is good, though. If you can actually sneak out a base, I feel like this is an easy land. No more Zergling underneath. If you can actually sneak out another base without Zerg paying attention to it, that could be huge. Liberators are now showing up, and well, makes Lurker run-bys a little bit more difficult to pull off. Yeah, it's gonna hurt a bit. Not quite enough Lurkers, though, to really be a nuisance. Or not quite enough Liberators, rather, to really be a nuisance. Yep, okay. Clem does pay attention, though, to the command center here on the left side of the map. And he is smelling blood in the water. He needs to be careful, though. He's now attacking upper ramp into a planetary, a line of siege tanks. Luckily, because of the bailing hits there, that was still worthwhile. He does decide to pull out again, and he'll probably be back for more in just a moment. Building armor. It's going to finish up here as well for Lambo, which is actually a big upgrade. He's already got high-sec auto-tracking too. That is the ranged upgrade for the planetaries, and also actually for the missile turrets. Surprisingly useful in a situation like this. But still, after being the aggressor in the earlier stages of the game, ever since Clem has arrived at Hive Tech, Lambo has turned into a complete punching bag. Siege tanks on the right side, in a little bit of trouble. And now the production over here is also starting to go down. I mean, we do have ghost production here finally coming up. That's nice and all. But it's a little late for my liking. Clem obviously throwing away a massive amount of supply, but can we do a little bit of first-person view, maybe? So this is what Clem was looking at whilst playing the game. You can see some of the APM reflected in the bottom right-hand corner. That's his selection panel. Watching the top-level players play the game can be a little bit nauseating. I actually recorded a really fun piece at the EWC together with Clem, talking about hotkeys. And I found out that day that Clem has one of the strangest hotkey profiles of any pro gamer. So he uses an AZERTY keyboard, which means that his A key, so AZERTY obviously is the alternative that a lot of people in France use. It means that his A key is where, for most people, the Q key would be. And he hits that button with his index finger. So basically what he's doing is he's attack moving using his index finger while having his like control groups on, like, I think he used tilde, then 1, 2, and then 5 and 6. And then a bunch of production instructions on 3 and 4, and then a few more on 7 and 8. It's all a little bit wacky. It's all over the keyboard, but it was very interesting to me, mostly because a lot of Terran players, oh my god, really? Are we going to pull the trigger right here? Actually, hold that thought, because suddenly there's banelings coming in from every single side. I don't know if this was the play, though, Clem. Lambo inviting his opponent off creep. Loads of sieged up tanks. You know what? Those destroyed mineral fields and destroyed towers now are making it a bit easier for Lambo to reinforce this section of the map. Lambo right now is smelling blood in the water. There's going to be a Nidus Worm counterattack once again, though, and that is dangerous. The main concern that I have right here for Lambo is that he still needs to address all of the Lurkers. There's 10 of them in total. There's now also a few Infestors in the game. I don't think he has an easy way of pulling that off. Okay, well, apparently we can just walk the Lurkers in between everything here. Siege tanks in the back dealing some friendly fire, too. And while this was a good start to an engagement here for Lambo, I think he got a little bit overly aggressive. Engaging deep onto creep against the Zerg player is always sketchy. And Clem cleans it up with relative ease. There's still a lot of command centers available, though, for Lambo. He's now resecuring the base over here in the top left-hand corner. But so far, I gotta say, I'm really liking the way that Clem plays Zerg. GG gets called, and it's going to be Clem who obtains the victory in game number 1. Oh, wait, what? Oh, they swapped. They swapped. I got very confused there. I was looking at my scoreboard. So apparently in game number 2, Lambo is playing Zerg, and Clem is playing Terran. So did we only off-race for the first game of the series? All right, fair enough. So what I was going to try and bring up right before Clem decided to take the strangest engagement way off creep, and then Lambo decided, oh, wait a second, that means I'm very far ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and fight deep on creep. And then, you know, the advantage flipped around again in favor of the Zerg there. Anyways, what I was trying to say is that a lot of Terran players in StarCraft 2 over the years, and you can probably come up with like a dozen examples, have had wrist issues. So specifically the Terran players have had wrist issues. Some Zergs, some Protoss, but mostly Terrans. And I've been thinking about that a lot. And I'm talking to Clem at the EWC, talking about his hotkey profile. He uses the Q hotkey. For him, it's an AZERTY keyword, right? So his Q hotkey is where his, well, A key is at on his French keyboard layout. He hits that with his index finger. And basically what it means is that he is moving his wrist around a lot. Now, I think most StarCraft 2 pro gamers that I've ever seen play, or any casual StarCraft fans, myself included, most of us keep our wrist very stationary, and we do most of like the actual precise control on the keyboard with finger movement, right? Rather than like wrist movement. But Clem is, when you watch him play, if you have like a first-person view or you have like some sort of keyboard camera, you can see that he's moving around his wrist a lot. So he keeps flipping it around because he, well, uses index finger for the Q button and then also for a lot of the control groups around the keyboard. So it's interesting. I wonder if maybe that's why Clem has been able to play as many games as he does without ever running into issues. Anyhow, we're going to start off with a Reaper this time around. It's going to be a Marine on the back of this as well. No surprise, of course, in that department. I was actually excited to see Clem some more with some more Zerg. It would honestly be really fun. I think he actually played really well. Some questionable engagements, I suppose. But I think, broadly speaking, it was pretty clear that yeah, Clem is a very strong, maybe to no one's surprise, but it's very clear that Clem is a very strong Zerg player too. Reaper is trying to bully a little bit. Queens, though, are going to spawn in just a second. Hope my voice, by the way, doesn't sound too weird. I don't know if my voice sounds weird today. In my head, it sounds a lot better than it did yesterday, and especially the day before that, and then especially the day before that. Does my voice sound weirder than per usual? Maybe a little bit. Anyway, I think we're good to record videos again, though, which is nice. So funny, like, I obviously did cast a lot of StarCraft at the EWC. And then I don't cast for a few days, and I immediately miss it. I really, I really enjoy casting. It's fun. Glad there's still people out there watching too, man. I do appreciate it. All right, let's see. It's going to be a triple CC 111. If you're watching, by the way, on the YouTubes, please take a second and hit the like button down below. I never really asked that. I find it a little bit annoying whenever YouTubers ask, but it would be appreciated if you could hit the like button. Thank you. Are we gonna go Banshees? It looks like we are gonna go Hellion Banshee, yeah. So Clem is gonna show us how to play that early game that Lambo went for in the previous game. Couple of Evo chambers here. I would have loved to see it, by the way, if Lambo managed to like find the opportunity for the Queen movement early on, right? In the previous game, he could have dealt so much damage with those Hellions. I think that is something that Clem certainly could work on with his Zerg, just looking at that single game. Some of the army positioning was questionable. The early game Queen micro could have been a little bit better. And then late game engagements, I think, could be refined a bit more. But across the board, strategically, it all made a lot of sense. Some nice Evo chamber blocks right there from Lambo. Zergs have been loving that lately. Building up Evo chambers just to, well, make sure that you can prevent the pathing there from the opponent's units. Lair coming up right now for Lambo. We'll probably see... Ooh, really, Clem. Another Evo block. I wonder if this is a little overly aggressive. Some nice pathing here by Lambo. Still, though, there's not quite enough available yet to clean all of those Hellions up. And in the end, this is a lot of lost mining time. But I think this is okay. What about the aggression in the main base now, though? Ooh, careful. Don't clump them up, Lambo. 3 drones, 4 drones, 5 drones. Now there's also a Banshee going to town over at the 3rd base. Not the cleanest bit of aggression here by any stretch of the imagination. And while the final units here do accept death, the Banshee is not quite in that realm yet. Ah, this Banshee may actually... Oh, alright. That Banshee may actually just straight up deal too much damage, and apparently Lambo agrees. GG gets cold, and it is going to be Clem who gets a second point on the board. Next up, we find ourselves on Maganatha. This time around, again, Clem is going to be playing Terran. Lambo is going to be playing Zerg. Well, that previous game was going great for Lambo until it didn't, right? I mean, he did get some decent value on the Hellions, and I think honestly the Hellion trait there in the end was resource-wise not amazing for Terran, but I mean, so much lost mining time, and it really just slows down the Zerg in so many ways. I don't know if Lambo even started up a Baneling Nest during all of it. Did he have any Evo chambers? Probably not. So all of his transitions from there would be way too slow. And then to rub some salt in the wound as well, we had that cloaked Banshee going to town at the third. Lambo didn't quite start up an Evo chamber. Or, sorry, a Spore Crawler in time. And it did make everything a little bit messy. Now, Maganatha is a huge map. A lot of expansions are technically available. I'm actually curious to see what, like... Maganatha. I feel like we don't see this one all too often in best of threes. Not particularly popular in a best of three. Usually it's like Persephone. You see a lot of Ultra Love, right? So this map has a rush distance, yeah, of 37 seconds. So the rush distance in StarCraft 2 is usually measured from top of the ramp to top of the ramp with a scouting worker. So the workers apparently take 37 seconds to get across. To put that in perspective, there's been maps in the StarCraft 2 map pool that are like under 30 seconds. Doesn't sound like a big difference, but 8 seconds makes all the difference. At least that's what she told me, so pretty happy about that. Anyways, Zerg versus Terran on this particular map. Apparently there have been 83 tournament maps logged on Maganatha for this matchup, and 50.6% went in favor of Terran. So this map seems to be a perfect 50-50. Which is pretty nice. Actually, I think in general the current map pool seems to be quite good for Terran across the board. Maybe not as good as the previous one, and maybe not as good as the one before that either, but somehow, some way. Even though the map win-loss ratios are slightly worse for Terran right now than they were, well, in the last year or so, they're still really darn good for Terran across the board. I remember like a year ago, we would get some of the maps where Terran would have like 54% overall win rate on, and they would be vetoing it as their very first choice, and you're like, okay. Well, okay then, buddy. Maybe we've gone a little too far, huh? Okay. Terran obviously quite map dependent though. You need to try and be aggressive most of the time. If you let the Zerg player do whatever they like, the game does become a little bit fishy. So we've got ourselves a 320 Roach Warren here for Lambo. So 320 Roach Warren, it means that he skipped the Zergling speed upgrade. He continues mining right now. A much faster third hatchery, that's nice as well. But obviously it also means that Terran is going to be able to just do whatever they like for now, right? I mean, Zerg can make a few roaches, but I don't think he's going to be using them aggressively. Pretty sure they're just going to be defensive roaches, and with Hellions, Banshees, moving around the map, it's going to be critical for Lambo to be in position this time around when the aggression does pop in. Now, he's got a nice Overlord Scout here inside of the opponent's main base. You will see that the cloaking field is researching, but this may actually be a fake out. No, it's not. No, he's going to let that finish. Thought for a second this was the second Banshee already in production, but not quite the case. So this is going to give Lambo all the time in the world to prepare against this exact aggression here from Clem. Now, it's not like this aggression from Clem is particularly unique. This is how Clem usually starts off the game. So we end up with a 2-1-1 here in the end. We'll probably see Stimpak in just a moment. Lara's already about halfway done right now for Lambo, though. And he does have 54 workers, soon to be over 60, which is huge. Very nice bit of progress here, actually, by the German Zerg player. This is that advantage of skipping Zergling speed early on. It doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but honestly, you buy so much time. If you can get away by skipping Zergling speed, you can just very easily pile on the eco. This could be a nice catch, though, here for Clem. Banshees, yeah, they're annoying. They do have Cloaking Field available, too. The Lair obviously already done here. It's going to give him the opportunity to get an Overseer. I think this hatchery will likely live. In the meantime, though, there is some movement as well happening on the right side of the map. At least the queens are now out of position. And, ooh, not again. All right, nicely done here by Lambo. Walls himself into the natural, walls himself into the third. A nice safe haven for those drones. This is so finicky, though, man. I just look at this as somebody who's played a lot of Zergs. It's so easy for everything to fall apart. Oh, no. I've played a lot of Zerg. Oh, you know what? He's trapped the Hellions in there. Ha! Alright. Well, that's one way of getting a job done, I suppose. This always kind of feels to me like building a... I don't know, like a, you know, like a house of cards where... Oh, if the foundation is not stable, everything turns into a bit of a disaster. This is, in the end, actually a very good exchange, though, for Lambo. Accidentally finished up that evolution chamber. But, yeah, that could have been so easy for everything to fall apart. Nice movement there by Clem. But it's very much so up to the Zerg to not make any missteps in the defense. And Lambo, he didn't quite manage it perfectly, but he certainly got some great value there. Baneling Nest. Infestation Pit. Second Evo Chamber. In the meantime, Terran is going 1-1 upgrades. And we do have a fourth command center on the back of this as well. We should have... Do we have an armory already? Not yet. He starts it up right now. I was going to say, we do need one of those. +1/+1 is just about to finish up. Maybe a little bit of the sleep or Lecter off kicking in right here for Clem. He's not usually late with the armory production. Should be able to go into the 2-2 upgrades here pretty soon. Zergling speed, though, together with Baneling speed, together with a Hive. Lambo is preparing, I believe at the very least, to do a full switch from Roach Ravager into Lingbane Ultra. We've been seeing this strategy a lot over the last month or two. And Zergs have been able to, like, rush up their economy, rush up their tech. Minimum amounts of units for early game defense, and then suddenly you hit them in the face with Ultralisks. And while Ultras are a bit of a shaky unit most of the time, I'm really liking this position for Lambo right now. He's making 7 Overlords, which is a little... a little much. Hive is also actually a little bit late, even though it's 8 minutes in and, you know, it's about halfway done. In the current meta, believe it or not, it feels a little bit late to me. Clem is not yet done, though. He's got 4 command centers. He's got himself that 4th one right now, growing a little planetary fortress hat on top of itself. There's aggression over here as well on the left side now, as he's starting to work on the 4th of the Zerg. And you know what? He does kill it. Loses one of the Medivacs in return, and apparently this guy decides to go home without really bringing in anybody back. 11 drones full as well on the right side. New hatchery starts up for Lambo. He already had this one building. Vipers are going to be the weapon of choice for now. And there's the Ultra Cavern. Okay. This is the type of attack, though, that can let the Zerg player just... They could just accidentally let the entire advantage slip away. Lambo had to work very hard in getting that early game lead, but he still got a sick amount of tech, right? Like, if he can actually get a good attack going here in a moment, it's still going to be extremely dangerous for Clem. But Clem has already started up the Liberator production. Ultra Cavern is not even finished yet, and obviously the Ultras take a while to produce, and so does the Chitinous Plating upgrade. Very important to get that upgrade going as soon as possible. And Clem is looking like he is once more prepared to pile on the pressure. He knows that in about a minute from now, Ultras are going to be roaming the battlefield. Vipers are going to have energy as well for Blinding Clouds. But right now, there is still an opportunity for him to get some work done. Well, let's see. There are already Vipers out. We already do have Blinding Clouds. Those Widow Mines are dealing as much friendly fire as they are dealing damage to that of the Zerg. Lambo will be happy to trade out some of this supply so he can replace it with Zerglings and Ultras. Planetary Fortress, though, over here is going to be big. We do get some corrosive balls onto the lib. Nicely done. Vipers need to go home as quickly as possible. Clem is going to be able to snipe at least one. Roaches going in around the side as well. Would have loved to see some of those roaches actually deal damage to the Terran's economy. Because ultimately, Clem is still sitting at 80 workers. And we're once more playing this little tug of war now as the Terran is once more ready to move in. Ravagers overexposed. Chitinous plating not yet done, so the Ultralisk that will spawn is likely just going to get destroyed by Marines and Marauders. Hatchery over here is going to end up falling too. Viper does throw the parasitic bomb, but great split right there by Clem. Immediately mitigates a lot of the damage. Clem's so freaking good, man. There's the Roaches, though, moving in. Reinforcing Terran units are all over it pretty much right away. Creep threat over here in this section of the map now looking very lackluster. Marauders in the front as well to soak up as many of those hits as possible from both the Ultras, as well as the Roaches, as well as the Banelings. Careful, Banelings are going through, but nope. Good movement here by Clem. Showing us how you're supposed to micro it, right? It's so easy for that to go horribly wrong. In the meantime, there is a Zergling run by, though. Terran reinforcements are going to have to try and deal with that. He's actually running out of health over here on those Marines and Marauders because the Medivacs don't have enough energy. Nice Blinding Cloud, but there's not much here as far as a backup goes for the Zerg. Ultras are spotting, though, and so are the Zerglings. The Medivacs are going to make it pretty much impossible for this Zerg army to get all the units killed, but it looks like Clem doesn't even want to go home. Dude, what an engagement here by Clem. Here comes the Ultra, though. All these units are one chomp away from everything. Oh my god, from everything getting destroyed. But he snipes the Ultra too. Clem is an absolute monster. That was unnecessarily greedy. Look at him. A little bit of pickup control over here too. Nice. Snipes the Infestor. Doesn't quite get the second one, but I mean, that is still a really good exchange there for the French Terran player. Lambo desperately trying to hold on to the top right-hand corner of his bases, too. This is apparently where Clem has set his sights on right now. GG gets cold. And just like that, it is Clem who obtains the 3-0 victory in this best-of-5 series. It turns out, sure, being sleep-deprived affects them a little bit. I mean, we saw a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes from the both of them, especially as far as, like, making loads of depots go. In this last game, we saw the armory a little bit late. We saw, for example, a lot of overlords queued up too. But across the board, both of these guys played really well. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be surprised. But I just know that when I don't sleep properly, I play like an absolute idiot. It's also nice to get an update, though, on where Clem's Zerg is currently at. It turns out he's very good at the game.